So how can you make passive income while you're traveling or vacationing, making money while you sleep, or even making money while you're just laying on a beach? That's what I'm gonna cover today in this video, so you can find out how you can actually make money while you travel and still get paid. Now, over the years, I've had several clients say, I wanna just leave America, I wanna go live somewhere else, whether it be Mexico or Bali or whatever it is. And they're like, how do I do it? How do I create that passive income? Well, in this video, I'm gonna start breaking that down as what did they actually do to allow that to happen? And in fact, I'll even share my own story of how I'm able to ditch Utah in the winter and go live somewhere else warmer in the wintertime so that I can still afford to live and be wherever I want, whenever I want. All right, first and foremost, you could go work remote, that's true. You could always have a job and work remotely and do whatever you want, and that's fine. In fact, that's preferred if you can do that, especially while you're trying to build up assets. But I'll tell you, the best way to do this is through passive income, right? Having investments that actually produce passive income for you. This does not mean you're saving money in your 401ks or your IRAs. In fact, those might be the worst places to put your money because you'll have to wait till you're at least 59 and a half. And if you want to do this before that age, if you want to do this before you're age 60, then I would recommend doing something different. And this is where you don't want to invest in the things that usually your traditional financial advisor will tell you to invest in. Instead of investing in Wall Street, you want to invest in what I call Main Street investing, right? Things like real estate, things that actually have secured assets so that you have some security behind it. And you might even have some predictability behind the income that's coming, because there's only one thing worse when you're traveling is not having predictable income. If you don't have predictable passive income coming in, you know that you might have to leave at any moment. And that's a stressful place to be. It's kind of like one time I had a friend that was on a cruise ship. He was laying on the dock, and this friend actually had been creating some passive income. So he was relaxing, he was enjoying it, sitting on the deck of the cruise ship, and he sees the guy next to him. He starts chatting with him. He says, hey, so what do you do? He's like, I'm a doctor. I'm a cardiologist specifically. He's like, oh, that's awesome. I bet you make great money doing that. He's like, yeah, I do, but honestly, I'm not enjoying this vacation at all. And the guy said, well, why? He said, well, because if I don't have my hands in somebody's chest right now, I'm not making money. So right now, all I'm thinking about is all the money that I'm not making, as well as the money I spent on this cruise ship, when I could be making money otherwise. So really, I'm not relaxed on this cruise ship at all. In fact, I'm just can't wait to get back my profession again. And that was a valuable lesson for my friend. He realized that's not freedom. It's not about how much money you make in your career, it's how much you're able to get away from it. And that's why it requires passive income in other investments. And the best investments I've seen do that are ones that are backed by real estate. Now, I used to believe this wasn't possible for myself even. Even after I created passive income for myself, I still thought, yeah, but what if? What if something happens? And I remember it wasn't until I got remarried here about 8 years ago. My wife said, listen, there's two things I'm gonna make sure you promise me. One, no more kids, because between the two of us, we have 8 children. Please, no more children. And then 2, I can't do any more Utah winters. I gotta leave here. I gotta go somewhere warmer. She's like, in fact, I wanna go to California this year. I said, great, let's do it. Now, I was nervous because I didn't know what that required. And one of the biggest things you wanna do, if you're trying to figure out your plans, like where do I wanna live? What do I wanna do? Start mapping that out. Start finding out what does it cost to live there, to eat there, to do those kind of things. Find that out. Now, I thought before I had to go buy a property in those places. But at that time, something that was kind of a trending thing that was becoming more popular were Airbnbs, right? Where you could do short-term rentals. You didn't have to go rent a place long-term or even buy a house and buy that vacation home that you might visit every so often. I could go pick any property I want. In fact, I can even test different properties and test different areas and be free to choose whatever I wanted to do. And so I would do Airbnbs. So once we started to find out, here's how much it would cost, here's how much it probably cost with food and everything else, we actually left the state for 2 months. From January through March, we were gone. We enjoyed those warmer Southern California winter that we were able to have, and it didn't actually cost nearly as much as we thought. It didn't even require us to have that monthly income, even though that helps. What we realized is you could save up that monthly income over the course of a year. And so as long as we could save that up, say it costs $20,000 to go wherever you want to stay for, say, 3 months, okay, great. Well, can you make $20,000 a year of passive income to then pay for those 3 months? So in a sense, you work for 9 months to then live free for 3 months, right? You could do something like that. You could do like what some of our other clients have done. Like I had one client where she said, Chris, I actually joined this business coaching program where I met you, where I want to get my business growing. But I realize now I'm in my 50s. I really don't want to hustle anymore. I actually think I want to shut down my business. And I think I want to just retire. I said, all right, well, what do you have? Like, what can we do here? She said, I got $300,000 that I got from my divorce. That's about all I have. I said, all right, well, let's see what we could do here. And so we took that $300,000 and went and bought some like real estate properties and other real estate deals to the point where she's able to generate $3,000 a month. Well, that $3,000 a month was more than what she needed for Bali because she found out to live in Bali at that time, she only needed about $1,200 a month. And that included, because she wanted to do some yoga and to do some scuba diving. So a few hundred extra bucks a month to do some scuba diving. But she said, you know, Chris, I would love to just go to Bali, teach a little bit of yoga. Maybe I'll make some money there, but I just want to live free. And she's like, I just want to do it for 1 year to try it out. So we did, had her do it for 1 year. She loved that year to the point where she said, you know what? I think I need to sell off my property in Oregon. So she sold off her property in Oregon, had some more cash to then reinvest, increase her income once again, and she's been living free in Bali for now almost the entire decade. Hasn't come back to the States other than to visit here from time to time to visit friends and family, but has enjoyed her life now in Bali. I have another couple. They actually told me, they said, you know, Chris, we love our family and everything, but we want to do homeschooling and we would love to do it in another country. We want to give our kids a bigger, broader experience than just what they get in the United States. I said, all right, well, let's see what that requires. They want to do either Costa Rica or Mexico. And so looking at their situation, realized that they sold their home because there was equity in their home, cashed out a little bit of the retirement plan that they had early because they were in their 30s. We're able to get that cash together and then use that to go and invest in different types of real estate where they're making now $3,500 a month or about $42,000 a year. That was just enough for them to be able to live there. They're still doing some part-time side businesses and whatnot to help, you know, add some more money and increase their income each year. But for the most part, they're living free. Homeschooling, living in Cabo San Lucas, of all places, the place where people go to vacation, they're actually living their life there. That's where they've planted their roots. They come back to the United States, you know, every once in a while to visit family or friends, but they're living their expat life in another country. It's not as hard as you might think, but what is required is you got to get your money working harder for you, so you have to keep working so hard for it. Yeah, so what are some investments you can actually do to create that kind of passive income? Like I said, I like real assets, real investments. I keep mentioning things like real estate. What does that look like? Most people think of real estate, they think they have to buy a property in their backyard and manage it and deal with the tenants, the toilets, and the trash. And I think that doesn't sound like freedom, because if I try to travel, now I still have to worry about what's happening back at home. Guys, I thought the same thing, and you don't have to do that. Here's what you can do. You can buy what's called turnkey real estate properties, turnkey rentals. Turnkey means that you actually buy a property, a company will usually help you find them in certain parts of the country, anywhere in the country. You can actually buy them in different parts. Personally, I like to look in the Midwest to Southeast, but you buy properties out there, and then they'll property manage it for you. So they're dealing with the tenants, they're dealing with the toilets and the trash. So when I first got the property, it was a $32,000 down payment with fees, and it generated about $300 a month. Now, that same property, guys, is generating almost $800 a month after all expenses are paid. That means I'm making about $10,000 a year from just that one property that cost me $32,000 6 years ago. That's the beauty of it, right? There's so many possibilities there. Now, I'm not saying that's guaranteed. I'm not saying you're gonna have that same result, because I've had other properties that didn't do so well. I had some that I bought in Alabama about 3 years ago, sold them less than 3 years later, but despite the fact that it didn't cash flow as well, by the time I sold it, I still made about a 40% rate of return. Again, results may vary, no guarantees. Yes, you can lose money even in real estate. But remember, like, that's the beauty of it. Like, I can actually grow my money, actually grow my income year after year, especially when I have properties like that. Now, I don't have to have something that's semi-passive or, in that sense, because obviously I have to manage the property manager. I can do that from abroad. But I have other investments that I do that I can go and lend money to other investors. Sometimes lend it to them long-term, where I might get paid 10, 11, 12% a year on that money. I could also invest in other investments that maybe broaden and diversify my portfolio. I might have some things, in fact, I do have some things in oil and gas. I also have raw land. I can make money off that. In fact, I have $11,000 a month, over $11,000 a month coming in just from a raw land business partnership that I set up just a few years ago, right? Like, there's so many different ways you can diversify and make money, so that it allows you the freedom to do what you want with whom you want and where you want. Especially when you want to travel and do things abroad, man, when you have passive income, so many things become so much more possible, and the stress and the pressure comes off of you. And isn't that what we ultimately want? We want to be able to travel stress-free, feeling free, and loving and enjoying the trip and enjoying our lives and having new experiences. And that is something that, although money did help buy that, still those experiences, in a lot of ways, money can't buy that, because it's not the money, it's the cash flow, the passive income that creates that feeling of freedom that allows you the freedom to be able to do what you want, when you want, and with whom you want. Do you want passive income to travel? Well, your journey all begins by going to moneyripples.com and clicking on passive income calculator to see how much passive income you can create in your situation right now. Click on that today.